Thank you for enjoying your sweetest moments, merging timelines. I'm your host, Melly Mel's, an angelic melody Melanie, the airy fairy mystic. Hello, family. How are you today? How are things going in your life? This reading is not intended to be posted for anyone else's viewpoint. And so while I'm somewhat mindful of the angle of this, because you can see all my neckage, and while I'm also in my subconscious mind thinking, what if people see this, or if I decide to post this, what are they going to look at versus what is actually really there? Those are the two angles we're going to discuss for the new shape, the four triangles, which is going to be the depiction of the 12th dimension. So this is the 12th dimension reading, okay? This reading is going to be about being a 12th dimensional being. Echoing is important. Okay, so the first message about those two coming together, the contrast of the light and the dark coming together in wholeness, is that your echo will not just be from the external world. Your most important echo would be from your own world. So you know how we're always saying, be mindful of the words that you create, because those become your reality, the home, the mind, the reality. So the things you project. And we know that in our becoming, we can pick a side in this war, this spiritual war. We can say, oh, we're on the good side, or we're on the awake side, and we're on the, or we see the not so awake side. We see the side that's still at an external war. They see war outside of themselves, so they play a part of the war. And that's just the two angles here. If you're not quite familiar, which you really are, it's just that the external reality isn't something that's constantly projected back to you. It's something that you fight to hold. So once you see it, you know that it's being done. Okay? And so gratitude is coming from your senses of yourself. You know, I was sitting at the table and I was talking to my mom about how true power does not come from control. It comes from influence. Because people will never really tell you how you changed their trajectory. I'm not saying that word right. I'm not good at that word. Trajectory. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. You're smarter than I am. So, and when I say it externally, I'm talking about my higher self. And I hope that you say that too. You put outside of you, instead of saying the negative, you start to throw the outside of you as better than what you currently are. Because once you see that, you fix yourself to become more of its reflection. So you have to see the best to become the best. Where we've been thinking, oh, we have to see the negative in the world and we have to go out there and fix it. And that's a form of the engineering of our society, wanting to be the savior of a reality that just needs you to become, to find its wholeness. The contrast. What a beautiful, beautiful message to start with. And then we had the hangman right there. So we're just becoming so enlightened as a human, as a being, as a 12th dimensional reality. So this shape is the square, obviously, with four triangles put together becomes the square. But we also have this four triangles standing up on each other. That image came from my Pinterest, so shout out to those individuals. I'll post the pictures, I think, but I'm not going to ever be able to like accredit those people because I don't think they put their name on their work, which is a beautiful expression in itself, not branding something. I had a hard time doing that myself, like thinking I have to brand my work, but your work is your influence. And the less that you put a need to be accredited at that moment, the more it's going to multiply very quickly and rapidly. And then it'll be just as free as it was meant to be. Because, again, the conversation I had with my mom is that the Most High gets the least amount of credit. The Most High has done the most amount of work continuously, never changing its pattern, never changing its flavor or sense of consistency. It just gives and gives abundantly. And so that's what we're doing here, is we're a reflection of that abundance. And the less that we look for its sense of gratitude, the more we become grateful for being the source of its reflection. The square also represents your own square, standing on your square, stand on your post, be in your land. That's what we're all fighting here for, our right to have a piece of land. Because what a facade it's been to take something that wasn't created by you and put it on the market. So we're not at war with people. We're really at war with this sense of control in the world that says anyone is less entitled to any less than what is becoming the land and the being. And so no, standing on your square says that you'll focus on your own shadow and your own light, and you'll feel less and less needed to speak to anyone about what you're working through, because you'll start to realize that the more that they hold that form of remembrance and reflect it back to you, it'll become a hindrance to the fact that you don't want to feel that way. You don't need to feel that way. We were at the table and my mom said she was creating boundaries. Boundaries that say, I don't need help from anyone. And what a sense of wholeness that is, to reflect feeling as though you don't need to be saved. Because to even promote that sense of reality just trickles down your bloodline and says, we're waiting to be saved. But when you say, I am what I've been waiting for, I don't need anyone to be there to save me, I will save myself. I will reflect within myself the areas that I'm still working on with my forgiveness and acceptance. There is no bad guy in my story. There is no person I'm running from or I need to be saved from. I'm not a victim, This following, this age of following and the engineering is always creating this good and bad guy, bad and evil, this hell and heaven. If somebody always has to be the bad guy, you'll be divided in some sense of your reality, whether that's at work or in love or in family. I had to overcome the family one where my mother and I were always at war. It's her, it's not me. It's her, it's not me. And then having to realize that, you've created a enemy. You've created a bad person. Why create a bad person? Instead of just seeing that that person is suffering through another angle in time and space, and their angle or reflection that they're fighting is their own self, just like you're fighting yourself. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm going in circles or if you actually get me, Rounds and rounds, and why you're doing me so wrong. I just keep holding you down. It's like I feel so stupid, loving you all this way. What can I say? So coming out of that 9-dimensional being, which sometimes we can say, oh, that's the highest form. It's actually not. We know he's not. We know that that's just the 9-dimensional being is like the free spirit. But you still want you're ascending. We're bringing our world together, merging the timelines, merging the heaven with the realm. It's really our dream state, our mind's world, which is the only conduit for our travel. What our mind is feeding its reality is becoming its life, form of life, expectation of life. So then you get to the 12, which is 3, and you're celebrating that you don't have to be at war with yourself, and there doesn't have to be a bad person. It just has to be the ownership of your influence. All praises belong to the Most High forever and ever and ever. I looked at 11:11 when I said that. So thank you to myself for acknowledging a greater power than me. I know that maybe people on my channel wait for me to acknowledge this power. And although I say Most High, you know, it can be a little triggering to those of religious backgrounds because they're like, oh, are you assuming you're the Most High? No, I do believe that the most higher self is navigating the lower self, but that's because I believe in myself being an infinite being and being a small fraction of the big sea. Remember, we talked about the sea. I'm a part of that sea. I'll never deny that. I'll never deny that you're a part of that sea. And that I know that we'll all become one great big sea again. I believe in the experience. Don't you? You believe that your experience creates your reality. It creates your senses of gratitude towards your reality. Like we can, like I went over so many times that I hate that I keep saying that. Sorry. It's triggering me. Probably triggered you too at the moment, like chill, Mel. I get it. I'm fixing myself. My vocabulary is not that big. But maybe because I can reach so many people by being simple-minded. I don't know. I really lost what I was going to say there. I got the tiger. Maybe we should just talk about Mr. Tiger. Isn't this card so pretty? I don't really get this one very often. So pretty. So pretty, Mr. Tiger. Thinking to myself, do I want to read the book first or do I want to pull the cards first? I want to read the book first. Feel the need to say that we've kind of took a paintbrush and threw it at the board, and there are many very specks on this board already. So many things we can talk about in this one sitting, but we're going to get right back to a smaller tunneled vision before we look at the branches of that vision. Tiger are some of the most recognizable cats in the world. They are territorial and mostly solitary, but are social creatures when they go hunting. Diverse cultures fear their ferocity and view tigers as a formidable force. Many people call upon tiger energy to overcome obstacles and reclaim personal power. With their dwelling habitat, tigers have had to adapt to constant changes humanity imposes upon them. Call upon tiger when you are dealing with adverse situations that need your assistance. Show your strength. Don't back down until you know when things are in your favor. Overcome adversity. Through personal power, exert a strong will to push through tough times. Have you recognized that you're that person that has to hold the anchor in reality? And that word anchor is like a very powerful word in 2025. We haven't started the year yet, but I've heard it. I shared something that a brother added me to, and in there I remember that word she said because I had just said it to someone online, just in a chat, just a random person I met, and struck up a conversation, and you'll be amazed at how the stranger that you meet, and we went through this, it's just so full circle. One time, the same brother and I, y'all know my brother, shout out to Seven, we were literally talking about how a stranger becomes more familiar, and you've become so familiar with the strangest parts of yourself. You love that part of you so much more now. You're like, where have you been all my life? And I've been here, but just not, you didn't recognize me. You were looking for me in the wrong places. Solidity is important too. Solidity, being able to. So funny, I like talked to my sister about my friend. When I was growing up, I had a imaginary friend. My mom would always say, you shouldn't tell people that, they might think crazy, you know. And when I was telling my sister today, I was like, yeah, I realized that some of the things I say, people would be so quick to label me, that is schizophrenia, Mel. You know, like I told her that these days, I really find less and less of a need to have a friend. And some people say, oh, you're isolating yourself. Like, I have no idea why everything has to be fair-based, but in your reality, you've become so calm that nothing scares you. Not even projecting a sense of weirdness or craziness that people would say, oh my God, yep, that's what it is. She's got that thing. So I had an imaginary friend, and her name was Stephanie with 2 eyes. I never know the reason for all the definitions or descriptions surrounding this person, but now I tell her, like, whenever I need someone to talk to, I'm more likely to write a smiley face on the mirror, talk to her, name her, and speak back to her, because again, that's like we said in the earlier part of the video, you literally just saying to yourself, I choose to see the perfect, not the perfect, the better version outside of me to become its reflection. And that person is just me. It's just me. Because when I'm not looking at the lesser part of the world or the part that I need to save in the world, I look at myself differently. I don't see that person that needs to be saved. I don't think she needs to be saved. I think she's just fine, you know? And when we look at the world like that again, I think we'll find wholeness so much quicker, you know, and that's standing on your square. We always think that you got to reach out and save someone, pull them out the fire. But that's being the same sense of the two-winged bird. That the divide that they always want you to feel. One end is saving, one end is in the need of saving. But being on both sides of that square is holding that person accountable, and that's what we need. That sense of saying, I'll just be the reflection that it's possible. And you might be saying that you don't believe it is. And this is where that message is coming from. And you might have a hard time thinking that it's possible, but because I'm standing on my square, I know that in due time, you will share its same reflection. You'll feel as though you can do it too. And I'm not to jump in your war or your divided mind and think that that's going to help you. No, it's standing outside and being the observer and still being that observer with compassion, no judgment, just allowing it all to play out the way it needs to. Because I found wholeness. My wholeness says I see it. I can't help it by jumping in it. I can only help by being the sense of its liberation. So it's kind of like our political parties with Democrat, Republican, liberation, which you know that I don't vote, never have, never will. So sorry if that makes you feel away. But I'm the very, very, very depiction of being in the world and not of it. It never made sense to me. So I do get talked out a lot about, especially when we get in big groups and the majority of our world believes in the divide, and they're worried about Trump sending people home, but immigrants are needed, and there's the divide again. There's always a divide, and we're never seeing the game that's being played because we're picking a side in a divide. And man, if I could remember that person that Ralph Smart quoted, he did a very good video on it, because the person who he was quoting that said, you can't really alienate someone. I have to, maybe I'll put the quote that he reiterated down, because it was such a good quote. And it's the point that I'm trying to make here, that we can't jump in the fire and create the new world. And we need to stop doing that. Extending the need to save or be saved or protect our land. A part of the contrast is necessary. And I know people don't want to see that. But the message, also another message I was getting was Rihanna. Red lipstick, rose petals, heartbreak. I was as Marilyn Monroe. What's love without tragedy? Like, there is a need for the darkest times in your life. And I'm going through one right now. So when I say it, I'm not experiencing it. I'm telling you, like, this tragic event that I've experienced has been the very key to the shift I've been asking for in life. You know, it gave me the right to sit down. It gave me the right to go to the drawing board, abuse my Pinterest, because I use the hell out of it, to create beautiful visions of homesteading and homemaking and flower farming. And it's all I want to do with my life. You know, I was thinking, so many people were telling me, you have to go to work. You have to get a career. You have to. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to further myself in debt. And not to say anything about those people who do that, because there are people doing it. But there's a contrast here. Everybody's on a different wave. Everyone's coming to experience a different sense of their reality of becoming. And I'm just like where I'm at, damn it. My mind is so sound, but what I struggled with was needing to convince people to be on the same. Instead of just realizing that is literally the exit right there, you know? And you don't even have to tell people, because those people you'll be telling you're exiting, those are the people that are really waiting on your downfall, because you offended them by saying, no, I want a different thing. I don't believe that it has to be that way, and I won't allow that to be my reality. Sorry, some of my cards is flipped over, so let me flip them back. So it's best that you don't tell people. People never want to accredit the shift that happened in their life. Just like some people have a hard time saying that the worst thing that happened to them ended up being the best thing that happened to them. Just make it make sense. I'm going to make it make sense. Like, trust me, I'm going to make it make sense. Because not only will I be more abundant in life right now, I'll be able to make decisions without needing an okay from someone to say you're right for feeling that way. You have the permission to step out and believe something different. Live in the world a different way. I can't wait for my partner to free himself from his own mental prison. He's been talking so much about it in his own little space. And I got some people who are waiting, just waiting for us to discuss our little life. Because they see the dark areas. They see the wrong. They see the mess up. And they're like, oh, well, is she going to speak on that? Is she going to speak on where he is and what he's doing? Yep. I'm going to speak on all of it. Just for you who's waiting, I'm going to speak on all of it because I'm not ashamed of anything. Nothing. And if people try to shame you, those aren't your people. Those aren't your people. So these readings aren't designed for me to be like entertaining you, like we went over in the last message. I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to myself. And it's the reflection that I want to influence the world to be the same of. Not a false sense of following. I don't believe in the engineering of our society. It never gets anywhere. But I believe in showing you how it's done by example. That's how you take power. I'm not making any of it up, you know. I'm not. It's a contrast. Your mind, again, not seeing someone who needs to be saved, not you, not the world. Your mind now projects a sense of wholeness. And so your inside matches the sense of wholeness that you see. I love that song. I'm going to listen to it so hard when I leave this thing. Red lipstick, rose petals, heartbreak. What's the environment look like, Most High? What's the environment look like? What's my environment look like? What's my environment look like? Oh my. Ooh, justice. There's balance being created on your behalf. Your realms are showing the work you've done. You know, when you've went through so much in life and people just wait for you to then admit that you did that to yourself. But you can find yourself in a bright light in someone else's expectation and following someone else's pattern. You had to find your own. And that's how you felt the right to take the piece of the pie that was meant for you. And you didn't feel the need to give it back like it wasn't yours. It was yours. You just had to take it and say, I deserve this just as much as anyone else. Because that's the thing about being disappointed by others. You get disappointed when you feel as though they think you deserve something less than them because your life journey was different. They never got to decide, and they'll show, and the Most High will show that to you. The infinite source of power will show that to you. That's the truth that you hold when it comes to balance and restoration. They don't know how you always end up on top. Like they don't see it. This is the weird part now, where the observer is becoming the person who's seeing wholeness. The observer sees wholeness. The wholeness you create. And you see the shift there. Just and I say it like I, us, and we, like these are any true external reality. They're just forms of yourself. They're just forms of you looking at yourself and saying, I'm that person is me. And even that person I put as an enemy is another form of me. When people say, oh, well, that doesn't give me the right to feel the way I feel about things if I'm not. No, like, you give yourself permission to feel. What you don't give yourself permission is the need for other people to feel something for you. Because waiting for someone to feel what you feel will never happen. Your life, your test, your testimony is unique. It's your piece of the pie. It's your piece of the universe that you're just as equally entitled to the work that's being done. That way nobody can say you did more or less. No one can look at your table and say you got a better piece than they did. You took what you needed, and they took what they needed. What's our heart space look like, Most High? What's our heart space look like? We're talking about standing on our own square, guys. Because we went through another human experience where they wanted to have you split in the game, picking a side. And we still haven't put ourselves outside as the observer, but we're doing it now. We are, because the observer sees the opening. Damn, but the observer is supposed to be the easiest point of view because it's not personal. That person gets to say, oh shoot, I seen the win, you know? Dang, do you guys know those like competitions, right? Where on the YouTube, you see people playing these bottle challenges and the person who goes first they're going at it first. So they're less likely to have it correct than the person who's observing the choices they've made and then went next. And so that's where we're at now. Now, the person who made the change within has the upper hand than the observer. But that's the facade, because really the power is the influence. So either angle that you sit at, the goal is going to be the same. The sea is the same. But the momentum and the direction will be different. Someone's working on the internal, someone's working on the external. The contrast is coming together so nicely, and we're standing on our own square. Stand on business, which is just our own busyness. That's why branding isn't so important, because like we don't want to capitalize the way the world has capitalized off the Most High's sense of love for us, that it still doesn't get the gratitude that it deserves. I mean, we fight to learn one time out of the day to say thank you, and we're receiving all the time. What's the influence here, Most High? Sometimes I'm like annoyed with myself because I feel like I'm having the same conversation I already had with somebody today, and then I'm putting it on camera when I don't do this for you to see me away. I just do this to change the trajectory of the world. So I'm annoyed with myself right now, having these same conversations I literally just had with my mom, with my loved one, you know? And sometimes I get upset that you don't acknowledge that we just had this talk at the table. Like you saying that you are putting your boundaries up is because we had that talk a couple days ago. But your investment to the change, as abundant as it was coming out of nowhere. See that portal? Now the influence is upside down, so I'm not reading that one just yet. Let's get into the present. Boy, if you can sit through these readings, I find myself annoyed with how slow I go. I told you, though, that's what we were going to do. Take it slow. This time to take it slow. I know I've made mistakes. The song, we still have room left to grow. I haven't been in the mood to sing for viewpoints. I sing in my own time, though. I mean, I'm blasting it like Whitney Houston, damn it. I love Whitney. But I just haven't felt the need to sing for others. Just for myself. That's the point we're getting to. Like, do it for you. I feel like this is us, like, rekindling our light. And the stillness that we feel is just the admiration for ourselves. God, when you love yourself more than you love the world, then you love being seen or held bound by its reflection of appreciation and accreditation. It's so intimate. It's an intimate feeling, sense of gratitude that just can't be matched. Because you don't want to lose yourself for the world. Because then you won't be here, right? I mean, you can be here in a way, but you won't be here. You know what we're talking about, being here. Because remember, I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to me. Saying, we won't be here, Mel. We won't see you. And you feel the same way. You just put your little pretty face up there and say, I won't see you. You, my number one. This one's for you, for you. Remember, we love that? Cause I'll be your groovy baby. Cause you are my superstar. And this is you coming out of your healing. I'm your number one fan. Again, singing to yourself. I'll show you how beautiful you are. you're groovy, baby. Isn't that so beautiful when you see yourself and you're like, damn, I don't even look all that great today, Lord. You know, look at me. You guys do not know the struggles and a half I'm going through. This lip that just, like, these eyebrows that ain't been done at least since October, Lord. These chin rolls that, whoa. But when you see yourself and you're like, man, we done made it out alive. We made it out alive. What's the future hold? What's the future hold? What's the future hold? I'm going to throw this back in because I didn't even feel that. And that was like 5, 6 cards. You know me, I do a 6-card spread. Sometimes I may take a little bit extra, but there's something you're walking away from in the future, and that's why there's this gap between your reflection. There's something holding there's someone holding, not someone, it's a version of you that's holding a crack in your square. Remember, we're standing on our square in our own home. And there's a version of you that you have a reflection of that you're still holding. You are holding it. You're saying it's more than likely that shadow, which is that person that you demonized, that version of you that you can't forgive. That's the biggest delay here. Shaking my head, moving on along, because shoot, that wasn't a great message. It wasn't all that fun. But you'll get to it in the privacy of your own home. Like I said, the best thing about finding yourself deeper and deeper is that you don't even have to announce that you done found yourself. You just have to be it. It'll be something that you celebrated that really wasn't a win. It wasn't a win. But it was a win in your heart. It opened you up so big that you didn't know you needed that sense of surrender. That you didn't know. And for me, I know what it is right now. It's the thing that I'm telling you is, what's love without tragedy? You know, like, and we're all like cringing, like, oh, that's a bad time. You're going for a bad time, you know? You'll see that thing for what it is. It's not going to feel good. That doesn't feel good right now. It feels like running with a chicken's head cut off, and ooh, everybody sees you running into every door because you done lost your mind. I've been that, okay? Like, I've been that. I done apologized so many times to my father, inside and outside, for being that loose mind. But forgive yourself first and foremost. Because you didn't deserve to show up that way. That's not who you are. You know, no matter who you've been in someone else's time and space, in their scenes, no one deserves to be that. To themselves. What's the advice? Do your research. Quietly take control of your life. What's underneath it? Discover them times you've been a fool. Remember that song by Ashanti, Foolish? How's it go? It's not coming to me right now, but it is a song. I've had so many songs in this. Jeez. I can hear the music, but I don't hear the lyrics. And I'm one of those people who don't really hear lyrics. I only hear the feelings of the music. So maybe it's important to have that same music, but different lyrics. And I think that would be a big change for the world, is we love the remembrance. And we love how you can put on a beat and you can be like, I know that song. I sang that song. You know? But what if that song isn't the sad love song anymore? What if that song becomes something new and ooh, it's hard to forget. Just as much as it's hard to forgive. But what if it really narrows your focus? Ooh, what letter is F in the alphabet? Because F is important. You know how they say you get an F and you're like demonizing yourself? Oh, I got an F. F is a good letter in this reading. I feel like people are saying, like how Cat Williams said in his stand-up, you don't get to change the word for me. Woke has always been this and it'll always be this. You don't get to change the word, the definition. I'm changing the definition of F. And F, forgive, forget, and forgive. Forgetting is because you forgave. And that form of remembrance, now when you write a song over and you listen to it, its beat won't hold the same attunement. Instead of being attuned to the pain of its remembrance, you'll be attuned to the freedom of its recreation. Recess. Reassess. Anyways, let's see what's been hidden under this influence. What do we not? There's that same card. Remember we talked about it? It was in the present. It was what's hidden. What your weakness. What's your weakness? What are you weak to? Me, food. Food, baby. Can you tell? Like, I love me some food. Another day I know I need to stop eating meat. I'm not on that cycle. I'm not holier. Okay? I ain't gonna sit here and try to tell you that I don't struggle with it. I do. That's the timeline I'm on. Some of y'all are better than me. You know? Me, I'm still struggling with it. Still struggling. I know you know better, you do better. And God has grace on you when you're youthful. I mean, you can eat, consume all you want. And consumption is more than just food, but we're doing it in a way where we as humans can say, okay, I understand where you're going. But consumption is what we read, the words and thoughts and feelings that we feed ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And we're tuning, reassessing, reforming those remembrances. Okay, so the past is already written. You're balancing yourself with what you needed to come into to admire your own light. Because we know that this world will truly change when each person is focused on their own light. And that's why the best timeline, you can believe me or not, is going to be when we're not on the internet. When we don't have to look so outside to have compassion for the inside. You know? And people say, oh, you just don't like it because you're not followed. I don't believe in the engineering of our society. So being followed isn't my goal. It is sharing the same reflection. And that's the message before it was capitalized and used. I'm not going there. Some people are saying they're so sad to let you go. 49, 49. But that sadness that they're seeing an opening to is that they're letting go of a version of themselves too, that you and them shared, but to meet each other again. And sometimes that time is different. That timeline is needed so that you can meet each other again without thinking about those times. You know how you can take a break from a friendship and you can see them, and it's so weird because you're like, damn, I remember when you and I weren't good. But the time apart made it seem like, what the hell were we mad about? And it's happening in a lot of our timelines. Needing to take a break from things was because we didn't know how to appreciate them in moderation. I've had to take a break from a lot of things. I know some family members have been sitting at the table, just, so what did you learn? Hint, hint, So, what are we not going to do? And I'm the most petty of pettiest. And I will never say I'm not going to do anything, just like I'm not going to ever demonize card readers like you want me to. I'm a card reader, been a card reader, gonna always be a card reader because I've been. And that's part of acceptance. But my message has changed. I no longer focused on finding love outside of me, and that's why my card style changed. It wasn't, I don't do readings. And again, I hate to point out these differences, but it's not to. It's just to show the pattern that we do this to come into ourselves. I don't care about reading who you think you're connected to. I don't care to read about who's up against you or... No, my reading style will always be me and you, and that's why it's always been the sun and the moon. I mean, me and you, me and you, me and myself, because I talk to myself in the mirror. But I'm sharing this observation because I want you to see that this is how it's become for me. And that's why I've always been open to showing people my reading style, and I move people in and let them see how I exactly do it. Not for you to copy, but for you to say what she's really doing is studying herself. And this is just the tool that she chose to use. Just like people study themselves in different ways. Still researching the things that you don't know. For me, it's the homesteading, the flower farming. And I have the worst time of holding secrets because people say, oh, you're not supposed to tell people what you want for yourself before it creates. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to, how far I'm going to get. But I am going to say to myself that I had the mindset that a lot of people discredit at times. I had the mindset that was the sense of idea that I needed to be where I'm going. And the in-between phase was the most important part. The part to not say, I've always thought this way, but I've become into thinking this way. And this is from the reasons of not having. And everyone's entitled to land here. Everyone's entitled. These are the simple necessities of life that put us at an external war because we're not focusing on the playground. We're focusing on the people, but the people are a direct reflection of its environment. So we should be constantly reprogramming the conditioning of our societal expectations of living standards. The land and the being become one. You did the work. You're researching it now still. I like to follow those channels of people like building, people who cook on the stone and the wood, and all you hear is this beautiful water just flowing in the background, and they are making the most delicious meals. I told you I'm chubby, right? Chubby at heart. I eat good, okay? In my mind, I'm eating good because I'm watching these people, and I love to watch food, and it's like, I would love to eat that. And so that's just what I've been working on. And myself, you know, working on myself. I don't stop anything because my life hasn't stopped. It's just been a continuous cycle. But I did learn to put down things in moderation and say, now's not the time and place. My body couldn't heal if I still had certain habits. And so when people get smart with me and they're like, oh, did you rethink? You know, they're trying to like condemn you. Same way I admitted to doing the same thing. So I forgive you. But no, I'm not needing to be condemned. I'm making an executive decision for my well-being today. And yes, I've decided that at the moment, it's not what's needed. You know, I've been given this space to not feel like I needed that escape, because I don't have to escape from anything. I'm not doing anything. You know, like people ask me, oh, well, do you have brain fog? Oh boy. No, nope, no brain fog. Because you've been changing your eating. Yeah, that too, but mostly because I don't have to do anything. I wake up and I'm blessed. I'm super blessed to have family members to allow me to stay with them during my healing. And I'm also blessed because the Most High, my higher self, allowed me to feel like I deserve this. It's not being given to me because I hate love with conditions. I hate love and people say, oh, I'm doing this for you. I was right, and that's why I'm able to do this for you. And the teacher and the receiver are the same. So if you're helping someone, they're helping you. But anyways, I'm in a good space. I'm lucky. Am I lucky? No. I'm living what I deserve. And that's really going to show face soon. And that's the part that I can't wait to get to, because this part right here is the difficult part. And during the processing, the projection of everyone else's need for you to say that you admit you were wrong, when I was never wrong to you, I was wrong to myself. And I carried a lot of pain that wasn't mine. And that's the reason why I need to get back on my square. And I encourage you to get back on your square, because this is the 12-dimensional reading, and celebrate all the things you've been through. Celebrate the tests that you've passed. And tell your story, because that's your own testimony. Shout out to that girl my brother put me on. I put her in the video. It was a beautiful part of her message where she was saying that people need to hear your story. And you give yourself credit for even the hard things that you put yourself through. Even the things that people would never understand. Why are you doing that? I don't know. This is my message today. Really don't feel to post this one because it's personal. I'm not sure how much you'll get from it, you know? But again, that's not for me to decide. And the real change is already emitted within the influence of being. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just being. And I'm giving myself the okay to say, I'm being, and you can attach your own sense or point of view to say, oh, this is why she's going through this, or this is why she went through this. But you never know. Nobody knows your journey. No one knows the purpose the Most High called upon you. And the Messiah that they capitalize off of was never a rich person. He was never a person who sat above others and said that he was what you need to follow. He was being an example and then being blamed for being that example and crucified for that example, which again we know is just your mind that's been at war with itself because of the external engineering of needing to be saved. You didn't need to be saved. You needed to take the control over your mind. And that's the biggest message and the reason why the message has to be put out. Focus on the world that you want to see and not the one that they've constantly remixed us in, washed us up in a washing machine to believe. Light, dark. What side are you on? Black or white? What side are you on? As much as I love Dr. Umar and that interview he did with the Joe podcast, I can't wait for my partner and I to listen to that together and share that beautiful moment of enjoying content that we just love the topic on. You know, everyone here deserves the land, their own mind. And so it's not about creating systems, remixing a system, but freeing ourselves from the bonds of the ages, system itself, because the only true system is your temple. Let's not focus on just recreating it, but maybe reprogramming it from the inside out. How do we want to use it? Do we want to use it to control others and the power? Or do we want to just use it in a way where we're influencing others of the same light that they carry? That doesn't have to be proven. That just has to be shown. Love you so very much. I hope you take care of yourself.